could you tell us which is your first guitar composition? But that without counting improvising. I mean, first one that you really worked at.
It was for two guitars, probably. Something for Odair and I to play. I think it was a set of short pieces that I called Três Cenas Brasileiras. Those were the first pieces. And my first solo piece was Aquarelle.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You started at the top.
Yeah. I never could get back to that level.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. And another question that Maria said perhaps would be a nice thing. You can ask her about the performer composer.
Now, I wanted to ask you, because you've been a performer all your life, and then you're also an amazing composer. And how do you compare the satisfaction you get from the audience as a performer to the satisfaction you get from other people playing your music as a composer?
They are two different things, completely different. I never enjoyed that much the concert scene, although I go with my brother, and I feel a lot of courage because I have a partner with me. If I was by myself, I don't think I'm not the right type for it. So I admire people who have the courage of going, but like Dave just goes, no problem. And I think right now, at this point of my life, I prefer what I'm doing now, which is because of the confinement. I'm home. I'm writing all the time, so I don't feel the pressure of going and playing concerts. It always made me feel nervous and not so that easy. So it's a little difficult for me to play. I'd rather write very difficult stuff and give to others. So they will have to deal with the difficulties.
Well, another last question, and one, maybe you could talk a little bit about the influence your family had on you, because your family is one of the most musical families in all senses. I have had Marie and I have had the good luck to meet your mum, and of course you and your brother together, but also all your children and your father. It's quite extraordinary, and
thank you.
It must have had a lot of influence. So say some things about that, what you feel.
Yeah, I think, of course, it plays a role incredibly strong if you have music in your family all the time. So I grew up with people coming to our place to play, play guitar, mandolins, and other instruments. And for some time, I thought that there was an extension of the human body to have an instrument, to play an instrument. So I can't recall anyone that wouldn't sit in our living room and wouldn't play the guitar, right? Everybody played the guitar, so it was a natural thing to pick it up and try. He played a really, really strong thing for us, for Odair, for myself, for Baji, for our sister. And then later on, we tried to create the same kind of environment for our kids. So at least one of them is a very strong musician.
May I just say something, an editorial correction here? Last year, Sergio started their concert not later after he warmed up. He just came out on stage and played a solo set. And it was crazy. It was so good. And he was improvising. Not only does he playing this great stuff, the guy is improvising in the beginning of a recital with 200 people, jail hall. So your humility is false. You're a great solo guitarist, Sergio Assad.
Yeah, the difference is that if I had to play exactly the same set of notes, it would be a problem.
We have to say we have for everybody, we have recorded you playing with your mom in Cordoba, which we are going to show for everybody later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you remember, Sergio? We were in the same festival. We have coincided in many festivals.
Yeah, I remember that very, very well.
We were in this bar.
After your concert, actually.
And your mom was chatting with Maria because Maria can more or less speak Portuguese or Brazilian. And then at one point you said, "Hey, Mom, would you like to sing?" And she said, "Nice, of course." And so I think the first time you were playing on my guitar, and the second time it was in another bar, and our nephew, he was about 7 years old, he pulled out the camera and recorded you.
Really? Wow! And you have that.
So I have that, and I'll put it on a little later.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Okay, guys. So let's get started and talking about all of these pieces of music, the amazing pieces that Sergio has written. I don't have a film of myself playing it, but I've filmed myself playing the Valseana, the slow movement. So I'd like to start with that. There we go. So I've enjoyed playing that piece so many times, and it's just pure magic. So anyway, just to talk a little bit more about the Aquarelle. Aquarelle is certainly several of the movement. The two outer movements are extremely challenging for the guitarist, and so I don't have any film that's worth seeing. But I did record the piece for a CD. So I'm going to put it on, but I'm going to put it together with something that's unusual now for many composers, because most composers, they write not necessarily directly onto the computer, but when I get the score from them, it's no longer in their handwriting. But I have here Aquarelle that Sergio gave me. So I'm going to put on the Toccatina, well, the Prelude and Toccatina. And it's interesting because at the very beginning of the Aquarelle, it starts with a very small motif, just 3 notes, ding, dong, dong, which happen to be, D, B flat, C. In the last movement, it's basically the same motif, but it's a third higher and kind of happier. No, it shouldn't be that one. There we go. You see what an amazing composer. That was his first piece. So since then, Sergio has become very, very active. And I remember I did an interview together with him before I played. It was actually a first performance of a piece in New York. And we went on stage together and chatted a little bit. And I asked them in the interview, Sergio, some of your pieces are really hard. It almost excludes many, many guitarists who are very good guitarists, but maybe don't have quite that speed and dexterity that's necessary for his music. He said, well, he grew up with Odair as his example, and Odair could do anything that he flung at him musically. And so he never had any inhibitions and didn't even consider the technical requirements, perhaps, to do some of the stuff that he's written. Now we come to the series of portraits. Now, today, of course, I'm going to talk about the pieces that I've had a relationship with. Sergio's written many, many more pieces. The first piece after Aquarelle that I played was Ellie's portrait. Now, Ellie Kastner was a wonderful man, an extraordinary artistic person who ran away as a child from from Vienna and traveled the world and things, and ended up in Canada. He died only last year, and we were lucky to actually, my wife and I, to be together with him sort of weeks before he died. And I took my guitar and played in some pieces, and he was fine. Anyway, Ellie was this great man, and for his 80th birthday, Sergio wrote Ellie's portrait. So it was really the first of the portraits, and he used a system which is very interesting. He puts Ellie's name, and then those letters, the E-L-I, etc., K-A, etc., and so on, are translated into notes by where they fall on the keyboard. So if you put the first note is an A, and you go on all the way up, the E is going to be an E or whatever. And from that, Sergio has used it, actually, in many of his pieces, he's used it as the basis of the piece. Not that it's not actually the piece itself, but it's the basis. I performed this in Toronto in a concert where, you know, Ellie had heard me play many, many times. He filmed me often, and so I wanted the concert to be slightly different. And in that concert, I did a whole lot of gags. So if you want to see any of the gags, they're on my Facebook. If you go to the Facebook, you can. If you go to the place that says videos, and the way back, I put a kind of reduction of them. That's only about half the ones I did. Those are the good ones, but it was a lot of fun to do. But the important part of the concert was Ellie's portrait, written by Sergio. So I'll put that on. Just. This is Ellie's name. And here again. And remember this theme, and it'll come out in the dance. So I'll leave it at that one there. Lovely piece to play. And, you know, because Ellie was a friend, it makes it even more special. And I certainly encourage people to play that. There are a few differences from the published version to one or two things that were slightly different in the very first version I got, which is that was there. As you'll notice, these are home recordings. I'm wearing a tracksuit and a dirty shirt, but the purpose was not really for this to be shown in this way, but it doesn't matter, these things happen. Okay, so let's move forward. Yeah, it would be interesting. One of the things I wanted to ask Sergio, but next time, was perhaps that was the first time that Sergio used the alphabetic system of converting the name into notes. I'm not sure. You know, I'm sure other people, certainly I know other composers have used it, but I don't know if he used it anywhere else. Everybody who has anything to do with Tucson, with the university and with the guitar department, knows who Sandy Bolton was. Sandy and Phyllis were wonderful people who were great benefactors, and they, well, now, for example, the guitar department is called the Bolton Guitar Studies in Tucson. So really, they were a huge influence. And Phyllis, Sandy's wife, had passed away, and Sandy was kind of lonely and not very well, and so on. And I was sitting in a car with Tom and said, "Well, we'd love to do something for Sandy, but you know, he's got everything he wants," and so on. He doesn't have a piece of music. So Tom phoned Sergio straight away, and Sergio was right onto it. Unfortunately, Sandy passed away before he actually heard the piece. He did see the score, which is great. It's a 3-movement piece, and I've played it often. It's really, really lovely piece. I won't play the whole piece, but I'll put on some parts of it, and so you get an idea. Again, he's used this thing of, for example, the beginning of the Pasacalles is Sandy's name. It's very clear there. There they are. These are our great friends, Phyllis and Sandy. And anyway, so what I'll do is I have to take them away to, I have to switch them off to be able to change into the piece. Maybe the first piece we'll put on will be the last movement, because it's really neat. I'll put a little bit of this, the first movement on. Here we go. Okay, we'll move forward to another movement. So that's the slow intro things. And the last movement is totally pure excitement. And it uses Sandy's name as a theme. With you again. Here we go.
David.
That's a fantastic piece.
So
Great.
David, just a quickie. So David and I talked about this idea maybe in March, and Sergio had the piece written by September. Absolutely fabulous that he got inspired to do this because he knew Sandy's health wasn't that great, and he had the piece done, and he works really fast when he's inspired. It's pretty amazing. Anyway.
Yes. Because we'll maybe talk a little more about Sandy and Phyllis later, because there's another portrait that involves Phyllis this time after. But first of all, before he wrote Phyllis's, and before he wrote another one that's called David's Portrait, I was in New York and we went to Clarice's house. Clarice is Sergio's daughter. she's a fantastic musician. I mean, mostly jazz, but she's also written for full orchestra. Really, she's having great success, and it's wonderful what she's doing. And while we were there, yeah, we had a fresh a feijoada, which is kind of Brazilian beans. And she made a fantastic dinner for us, and for her, she had some of her friends, and Sergio kept on asking these questions because Maria and I had met his mum. He asked about my mum, and then he was talking about his father, so he was asking about my father and his name, etc. This was for later, really, but I didn't know at that moment. So anyway, I was really happy to know Clarice as. Well, we'd heard about her before and things, and asked her at the end if she wrote anything for the guitar. Well, she hadn't, but she had an arrangement of a couple of pieces, so she passed those to me, and I'd really like to share one with you. It's a fantastic melody, absolutely beautiful, that she wrote, and it's called "The Last Song." She wrote it for her uncle, for Odair, Sergio's brother. So here is "The Last Song," written by Sergio Assad. So the next thing that happens that connects with this is now in confinement and everything, Sergio had all these different plans which have worked out really nicely. And one of them is like play duos, stick them together, whatever, and with Clarice. So I'd like to play you one that he wrote. Now he sent me this part and I just learned it, but I really had no idea what was going to be done with it. Then he sent me his part, which I recorded to his part. And then Clarice sang to our duo. And there's a little bit where I'm supposed to be playing a solo, but I'm playing it like it's background music. The reason is I didn't really know what was going on. But it's interesting because it's an unusual piece.
O sol já faz brilhar a passarela, silencioso, carente de alegria, despovoado na sangue inútil sua sina de avançar a algum lugar comum. Cai num sono profano, seu compromisso é uma miragem. Sonha com seus próprios desejos, sem faz de conta é a humanidade. Segue, segue. O sol desaparece no horizonte, anunciando nascer da noite fria. Na passarela desfila, nem traços de que venha passou, sem se apressar para lugar pleno. Em volta da estrela e o astro à redor dela dançam soltos corpos dos espaços involuntários, sentinelas cegos nas passarelas.
So that's an unusual piece. I'm sure many of you hadn't heard that one. The next bit is about another portrait that Sergio wrote, and this one is called David's Portrait. At this bit, I kind of hit with a bit of modesty, but at the same time, I'm so proud. In Arizona, in the university in Tucson, they gave me an honorary doctorate. And I later realized why Sergio was asking me and probably taking down the name of my mom and the name of my father. Of course, Maria Jesus, my wife, he knows well. So he wrote a slightly different kind of portrait. So it's, see if it says somewhere, it says a fantasy on his, oh, the honor was yours, Tom. Okay, thank you. I'm just reading a note. It's a fantasy on David and his immediate family. So this one, I usually hate either talking over someone's playing or things, but seeing as my own playing, I can do that. So this one, I'd like to bring Maria in because she's in the piece. And I'll put on a couple of photos and things as we go through the piece and explain what's happening a little bit and stop and start. The piece starts, let me just find it here.
As David's setting this up, this one I asked Sergio, and he got the first part of it together in about 5 days. And it was for the event honoring David. And Renato Serrano Munoz sneaked into the back of the hall. And
I was going to put that on.
Played it. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Okay, no. So I'll just show you, first of all, a photo of my papa. I'm sure he would be very proud to have such a masculine machote theme that you'll hear. Yeah, let's see. There's my father playing his guitar in the cave of our house. My father was a painter, and so that's where we sold their paintings. My mum was also a painter, and her photo is one here with me and my mum, just because you're going to meet them. There we go. There's my mother and me. She's still kicking. She's doing very well. My father, unfortunately, passed away. But my mum, well, even now, she still tries to do some artistic things. Her eyesight is failing, so she can't paint anymore, but she's painted until now. And so this was the event. Let me just enlarge it. Okay, I'm going to cut him off there. And that was such a special moment, really. And one of those great moments in our lives that I remember very often. And Renato Serrano is an extraordinary guitarist. He also got the score just like right there, just about. And learned it quickly. The music was in kind of seeping from the back of the hall. Where we were, we couldn't actually see even where the music was coming from. So anyway, it was pretty extraordinary. So now I'd like to maybe put on the piece. Rather than me play it as a video, I'll put on the recording and stop and start it. So the piece starts, it evolved. Those were the sketches, the very beginnings, if you like. And this evolved, and I sent back and forth several videos to Sergio and to see what, and he developed it. Really, it was great. And the piece starts with my father's theme and my mum's theme. Anne is my father's Rusty, mum is Anne. And so his notes and my mum's notes, and then they're stuck together, and then I appear. My notes are, first of all, a series of harmonics, which happen to actually be the open strings of the guitar. He used, again, the alphabetic system to get this. And then there's, I suppose you could call it like family life, because there's my theme, which is a kind of whimsical, playful theme. But yeah, I'll put it on and maybe talk over it. So you can see my father's name, my mum's name, and so on. Now the two together. That was me. So this is me now. Now my father's theme. My mum. My father. My mum. All together. Coming, Maria Jesus. And here is written courtly. I don't know if you could read that. I'm supposed to be charming there. And so on. Okay, I stop that for a moment. Okay, and now I wanted to put on just a moment of some Celtic music, because the next part that comes is inspired by some Celtic music. And Sergio said, well, here it goes. So if you remember that. That one just happens to be called The Fair-Haired Boy. And go back to this guy. And I'm just going to move it forward to where we were. If I can. Here it comes. Okay, so I'll move it forward. Oh no, it's okay. Now comes Maria's theme. This is the slow part. It's really beautiful. Okay, so now we move forward to the muñeira. But before we hear it, I want you to see some things first. How about a little bit of me playing a muñeira? Which one's first? Go for it.
Okay, the muñeira is the female miller's dance, which would be, as Dennis is here, the mullering, right? So while they were doing the milling, or you say milling?
Grinding the corn or whatever.
The corn. So while they were waiting for the corn, they danced this dance. And it is usually played, it's a 6/8 dance, and it's usually played on bagpipes, drums, tambourine, and also the abalone shells, which are usually played like one against the other, and it makes like a high-pitched percussive noise.
Shall I put on the group? Okay,
Yeah,
here we go.
okay.
Here we go. Okay, and you know, when I see that, I always think of this. Wait till you see Maria is a wonderful dancer. And somewhere, Maria, here she is. There we go. So I can't seem to find a way of having her photo up and the music going. But there's Maria as a young girl, dressed like a gallega.
Dancing the muñeira.
Yeah. Okay, so now we'll go to the piece again, and you'll hear Sergio's muñeira. It's going to be around about here. Hey? Yes. Jump forward. Bonk. There we go. Okay. So thank you, Sergio, for such a great piece, and thanks, Maria. Okay. I'm going to just do a couple of little teasers on one here. Now, okay. There's a piece that It's not titled a portrait, but in some ways it is. And now, I haven't played this piece. I've heard it, and I think it's a really beautiful piece. So I'd like to, I ripped off the first movement. So I'm going to put on Misael Barraza playing this. A bouquet for Julia. Okay, I should say Julia is our great friend, and she is so important in the guitar world in Tucson. And Sergio wrote this wonderful piece for her. Misael's an extraordinary player, and so really to see it and hear it really better than you will hear it here, you should go to Misael's YouTube page, and he's got the whole piece. I'm just going to put on a bit so you get a teaser at the beginning. If I can find it here. Bravo, Misael, fantastic. Beautiful playing. Sergio was commissioned, and I was asked to play this, a piece for a documentary video about Lauro. And so Sergio wrote a 4-movement Lauro's portrait, and I won't put it all on. I'm just going to put a little bit of the last movement, just for the hell of it. And, well, straight. I wasn't having a handsome day that day. Okay, so there you get the teaser of it. Okay, it's a really neat piece. The whole 4 movements are really beautiful, and I think he's done a wonderful job. It will be put fairly soon, so it's going to be a piece that you'll all be able to get your hands on and enjoy. So moving forward, because there's more, there's a lot more. Believe it or not, you know, these are only the pieces that I've had a direct contact with, and I included Julia's piece because I've known Julia since she's been in. I'm sure you're there somewhere, Julia. I hope so. You've been our guitar, you know, part of the guitar world since you arrived in Tucson, and I think it's really important that we also include your piece. Although I've never played it, but maybe one day. Okay, that was Laura's portrait. The next piece I want to include is Phyllis's portrait. Now, Phyllis was Sandy's wife, and when they first became involved in the guitar department, really what happened was many elderly people come to the concerts, and sometimes Tom speaks with them and things, And anyway, he said, come along to the masterclass. And they came to my class. And from there on, they've been part of, well, they were part of the guitar department, if you like. Phyllis passed away, and it was kind of, well, we were all very sad, and especially sad for Sandy. But some years later, Sergio wrote this piece. And I won't put it all on because we'll run out of time, because I really want to finish with something that's really exciting. But I played it in New York. It was it debuted in New York, and then I played it all over the place. And, you know, so it's a really beautiful piece. Here, what he did was slightly different with the alphabet. So he took Phyllis's name and wrote the 7 movements. I hope they're 7, F, H, Y, S. And each movement has the letter is the name of the title, if you like. So Preludium, the second one's called Hornpipe. Let me put those on, and then here we go. So that's Phyllis's name. That thing, da-da-dee-dee-da-da-dum, that's Phyllis's name, which comes everywhere. Now, I'll jump it forward so that you get the chance to hear some of it. So the hornpipe should start, I'm going to guess, about here. Or a little bit now. Here it goes. I want to move forward so that you hear the lullaby. There are 2 that start with L. That's the jazzy one. Whoops. Okay. This is a lullaby. Beautiful, beautiful melody. I'll move to the last movement, just a little bit of the ending. As you can see, Sergio has written a lot of great stuff. I've got time for a couple of more things.
His mom?
Yeah, I want really, Sergio was here at the beginning, so we had a chance to ask him. We talked about the influence that our parents, if you like your parents, which I did and he did, the influence they have on us can be very strong. And Maria and I were lucky to have met his mum. Now I have a little video which I want to share with you, and so that Sergio can see it later.
While you prepare it, I'll tell them.
Okay.
Because this was very emotional. It was after a concert in Cordoba, and we were having dinner together with Sergio and his wife Angela and his mom, and we had our nephew with us, and I think he must have been 8 at that time. And we had a camera, and Sergio asked his mom after dinner if she would like to sing, and she said, yeah, okay. So my nephew filmed it, and you have to excuse us because the film, I mean, it's an 8-year-old and he goes all over the place. But Sergio is accompanying his mom. He made us cry. It was just unbelievable. The experience was unforgettable.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
Okay.
Alguém que dizer a sorrir e descer na cidade pra queria subir. Se subir, ninguém sabe. Agora, você não me mudou. Caminhos pisou. E tentando subir. E agora eu daria milhão. Pareceu minha vida.
There, that's it. I think it's beautiful, really. So continuing with this, with the family thing. Sergio and other years are now a big family because Baji also is an extraordinary artist, and then their children. So they played some concerts some years ago. I mean, because their father has passed away. But it's a fantastic DVD. And it's called Un Momento Puro de Amor, pure moment of love. And it's really worth having. You will not be disappointed. You watch this, it's extraordinary. Anyway, so I'm going to give you a teaser. I just kind of cut up some little bits so that you can enjoy just a little bit. They're more or less all there. Okay.
Thank David for stepping in at the last second with a wonderful day, a wonderful presentation that makes us want to play this. And I want to say that today is the birthday of 2 of our good friends. Alex Viana, who's listening in Basel, I'm pretty sure, and Edwin Guevara, who's listening here. Edwin Guevara, who's listening here in Tucson. Happy birthday to 2 extraordinary guitarists. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Great, fantastic.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everything.
Great, I heard your voice. I'm going to hit the button and they're going to start. And 1, 2, 3, go.
Maintenant, c'est les moments plus émouvants, plus importants, plus spéciaux pour nous, parce qu'ils vous trompent.
In case you can't read it said, now is the special moment where we introduce our parents, Georgie and Donica.
de outra vez, com esperança em meu coração, pois já vai terminando o verão. Pois daí então, dar-te um beijo puro na catedral do amor. Toda a fortaleza que a cidade nordeste faz o que ela quer. Será que ela morena cochila escutando o cochicho do galho? Será que desperta gigante a voz do gabalho? Morena de Angola que leva o chocalhão na canela, passando pelo regimento ela faz requietar a sentinela. Ai, ai, ai. Ai, 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 ai. Quando canto minha sambinha batucada, a turma fica abismada com a dança que eu faço. Canto e não me embaraço porque não há tempo. Faço meu contratempo dentro do compasso. E quem tiver no ritmo na alma vai tratando de fazer tudo que eu faço. Ama de breque, canção e batucada, para mim não é nada que vier eu traço. Eu quando canto meu sambinha batucada, a turma fica abismada com a voz que eu faço. Canto não me embaraço porque não há tempo. Faço meu contratempo dentro do compasso. E quem tiver o ritmo na alma vai tratando de fazer tudo que eu faço. Samba de break, canção e batucada, para mim não é nada que vier eu traço. Samba de break, canção e batucada, para mim não é nada que vier eu traço. Samba de break, canção e batucada, para mim não é nada que vier eu traço. Samba de break, canção e batucada, para mim não é nada que vier eu traço.
So I don't need to say any more. Their music, well, Sergio's music, but the whole family, it says everything.
Speaks volumes.
Speaks volumes. Tom, any questions you want to ask?
Well, I'd like to make an announcement. So we were talking recently, of course, we lost Julian Bream recently. And for, I know David, for myself, for the guitarist in Brazil, perhaps the most influential, if not one of the more influential guitar performers and so forth ever. And so I was speaking with both David and Sergio, and in the books now will be next year, Bolton Guitar Studies will be commissioning Julian's portrait. So Sergio's already got ideas going, so I think it's going to be very exciting to see how that comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we look forward to it very much. You emailed me yesterday, the day before, just saying that. Wonderful news. So, anyone have any other kind of questions that you'd like to ask?
Well, I'd like just to again say that on Wednesday morning, quite early, I got a note from Sergio saying, unfortunately, he was not able to do this because of his friend's sudden funeral. And David put this whole thing together, and Maria, out of like nowhere in no time at all. So I just want to say Thanks. This has been awesome. Fantastic.
We've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it a lot. It's been really a lot of fun, and it's just made me realize how much of Sergio's music I've had in my repertoire at different times. You know, it's a lot. Surprising, and also it's kind of, we remember our good times together with Sergio and Angela and his wife, and also with Odair and things all together. But you know, Sergio has stayed here. We've been at his place often, and things. So it's our friendship is not based on music anymore. Although originally, of course, we were friends because we were guitarists. You know, just like it's the typical guitar thing. You're a guitarist. You're my friend. So shall we say goodbye?
They're asking to repeat the name of the DVD so they can find it.
Absolutely. It's on GHA, which is the record company in Belgium. I had several LPs on that label. And
it's in, the title is in Spanish. Un momento de puro amor.
It's actually Portuguese.
Ah, sí.
Un momento.
Un momento de puro amor, sí.
And the top, it has Sergio Odair Assad and their family. I don't know how much you can, if it's visible. Whoops. Like that. So I'm sure, I don't know if it's still in production, but if it's not, I'm sure you can find them, because, you know, it's just fantastic. It really is. We watched the whole thing more than several times, you know, and we put it on for friends and things. It's just great. You know, anybody who loves music, and especially if you like Brazilian music, and even more if you happen to know any of the family, well, it just makes it wonderful. The other one, because I took a bit of Misael's playing, I encourage you all to go to his YouTube and listen to the rest of the piece.
I really appreciate, again, your time, David, Maria. You guys look great.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay. Big kisses to everyone. I could now see many faces. Edwin, Alejandro, Binhu, Misael. Wow, many faces. Wonderful. Okay.
So,
Blago, great. Lovely to see you.
Hey, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, wonderful. Alexi, there you are.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay. So we will give a big goodbye then to everybody. Okay. So we'll be the first to leave the party.